I have great pleasure in introducing my podcast guest today, an author who has worked with me for a couple of years now. Dr. Kathrine McAleese is a sociologist, a broadcaster, and an award-winning author and keynote speaker. Kathrine mentors burnt-out high achievers to experience peaceful success through psychosocial education and God-designed implementation. Dr. Kathrine is a regular guest expert on national radio and in press nationally and internationally. She has spoken for conferences and seminars globally as a keynote speaker. Kathrine offers coaching one-to-one. She runs glorious European retreats, one-to-one VIP days, and she is the host of her Bigger, Bolder, Braver podcast. Join me in welcoming Dr. Kathrine. Hi, Kathrine. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So you and I know each other very well. We've worked together for a while, and we've known each other since way back when I started working in the online business space. But you've been an online business owner for a wee bit longer than I have. Do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of kind of what your business is, what your journey has been, and how it's brought you to becoming an author?
Yeah, so I kind of have two sides to what I do. Basically, my whole passion can be wrapped up in saying that I talk about culture, faith, and all things mindset. So basically, whatever's going on between your ears and how it affects your ability to show up and be your best self and live in a way that is not driving you or the people around you crazy is probably the easiest way to describe it. So that's what I do. So my whole thrust over the last 15 years, on the one side, I help people compete better with their dogs, actually, generally. So that's all the mindset piece and helping people to get into the ring and go and win world titles and international stuff and all that, which is very fun. And then the other side is all about helping women who oftentimes are leaders and entrepreneurs to wrestle with the social stuff, the messages we all get from the world, and that don't actually serve us, that leave women going, is this it? Like, so, you get that 6-7 figure business, whoop-de-doo, you get there, and that's supposed to be amazing, but actually you're exhausted and it's unsatisfying. And it still feels like, okay, so now I'm hearing that I got this 6-figure business, but now I'm supposed to have a 7-figure business. And the goalposts are always moving and you're always left unsatisfied. So great. So then I come in and go, right, okay, well, what would it actually look like if you were to wake up in the morning and go, hallelujah, this is a great life. I'm spending time with the people that I love most, I care most about. I'm getting to do the things that light me up. And I'm able to say no with vigor and delight when it's something that doesn't fit my values or my priorities in life. So that's what, is exciting for me.
So you became an author for the first time, was it, I think, 2 years ago? Is that right?
Yeah, 2 years ago now. Yeah, so basically it came out of the fact that not, you can't work with everyone, but I wanted to create a book that felt interactive, and that even if people weren't working with me directly, that they would feel like they'd encountered working with me and they could have some of the benefits of that just from working through the book. So, I call it interactive because there's loads of questions and there's lots of opportunities for people to really reflect and to walk through this journey with me, bringing their own expertise on their life to my professional expertise. And, and that is transformative. It is really powerful. So I really wanted to distill a lot of my work into this book, and that's what I've done. And from the feedback I'm getting, it appears to have worked.
So the book is enough.
Yes.
Full stop.
Yes.
Yes. And you're writing for the people that you want to help, but who are not necessarily in a position to be able to work with you, and the kind of full bells and whistles coaching experience that you provide. Tell us a little bit, what do people get from the book then?
The whole idea of it is that you get to meet yourself in a fresh way. My whole philosophy starts with that you were dreamt up in love by a God who adores you and to great delight in making you as this unique person, and that each one of us is part of the tapestry of eternity. And so, if that's true, then bearing in mind, I should say that a lot of times I'm working with people, actually, the majority of the time, I'm working with people who do not share my faith. But my take on it is, look, you don't have to share my faith to play with this as an academic exercise. If you truly believed that when you step out into this world, you are part of the fabric of eternity, that your life matters, that you matter, that, that if there was a God, that they delighted in you, and got really tickled about how excited you would get by a pair of shoes, or, your morning coffee, or how obsessed you would get over making sourdough, whatever it happens to be. If you were really able to grasp being adored at that level, what would it change for you? So I invite people to go back and remember who they've been in the past, but from a strengths perspective, not a, oh, my childhood sucked and, here's all the problems I had, but rather to go, no, no, no. Like, you have stories on your life's bookshelf that have been neglected that, you need to dust off because there's some really cool stuff in there, so let's get that stuff. And then to look at who you are and how you're operating in the world right now and what's working for you. And yes, absolutely. What's not working? What do you want to tweak? And why? What would it look like if this life right now in this phase with the actual life you've got, with whatever stage, if you have children, the stage that they're at this time, developmentally, the stage that you're at, if you have caring responsibilities for parents, like, that's a whole cocktail of stuff. So what would it look like if this phase of life was satisfying, or more satisfying? And what's getting in the way of that? Not least, what have you learned from society? And then looking ahead and, okay, well, where do you want to go? And how do we do that? What do you need to detox from? So it's a journey that I take people on, and I think it's really fun. It's certainly very me, and the other thing as well is it's not just for people who can't do the full coaching experience. It's also a great introduction, because if you read the book and you don't enjoy the book, you're never going to enjoy working with me, because it is very me. Um, so if you don't enjoy the questions I ask, or you don't enjoy the way that I think in pictures, and explain things, you can save yourself a fortune by finding out that you don't enjoy me through a book, and by the same token, for some people, it's a great primer to then go, okay, right, yes, this sounds good, I want more of this, I want you to get in and tinker and help me.
What you've just described there is a really kind of great sort of summary of what writing a book to enhance your business, not only, to accompany the business, to enhance it, to promote it, all of those things.
Absolutely. And I will say, I mean, I know I've said this to you before, but I want to make sure and say it on the podcast that the book is so much stronger because of the work that we had already been doing around my author brand, because actually in doing that work, it changed how the book came together, and it changed the emphasis in the book and all the rest of it. So, it wasn't, okay, I write the book and then I do this, or, oh yeah, 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 I know I've got to think about marketing it and branding and blah, blah, blah at some point. No, it actually was an intrinsic and very supportive part of the process of writing the book, to go through that work with you at the time. And I'm really, really grateful that I did it as I was still writing the book, because it wouldn't have been the book that it's become without doing that work with you. And I can say that, like, that's God's honest truth.
Mm. And similarly, because we worked on the author brand, we worked on the foundational stuff that goes into your author brand, which is the values, which is what do you want to say with the book, which is what do we want the reader to take away, which then leads us directly to who is that reader going to be. So you had all of that going on, didn't you, as you were
Yeah,
writing the
absolutely.
book? We went sort of seamlessly from there to, okay, so how are we going to bring this book to the readers, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And it made that whole process just more straightforward, because everything was congruent. It wasn't a book and then, oh my gosh, how do I make this fit in with the rest of my business? It was like, duh, it just does fit, because everything fits. There is an ecosystem And when this is the ecosystem, things will naturally grow out of that ecosystem without you having to labor it. And I think the confidence that I got from all the values work and really pressing into, as I know that you had to chivvy me so many times to press in more and more and more
Mm.
on the faith stuff in my fashion, in the way I do it. And that gave me so much confidence then in writing and also putting the book out there, and where I was putting it out and how I was putting it out and all of that. So but it's all one ecosystem if you do the brand author work.
Yes, yes. So I'd just like to pause today's conversation to let you know about something very special I will be running for authors next year in June 2025. My authors retreat at the absolutely stunning location of Ardogh, a private venue on the banks of Loch Lomond in Scotland. This retreat is focused on allowing authors to meet with other like-minded authors, unwind and relax in the most luxurious, very private setting on the doorstep of one of Scotland's most breathtaking locations of natural beauty. The retreat gives you space and time to indulge your own creativity and to tap into your vision for your future author journey, goals, and success. You will be provided with an inspiring, reviving, expansive break away from your everyday world to connect with yourself, your inner creativity, and of course, to have some fun with other authors. Workshops will be included. We'll be working on defining your vision for your author brand and guiding you through the next steps for your author success. We'll be combining these practical workshops with nourishing and nurturing practices, including yoga and a beautiful mindful walk. With the empowerment that comes from being surrounded by a highly supportive and welcoming group of authors who are ready to learn and grow in community, the Authors Retreat is a truly powerful experience. I would love to share it with you. Please go to the website buildyourbrandwithpr.com, where you can see all of the details about the retreat. And please do contact me if you have any questions or you could be interested to come along with us. So that kind of brings us to the launch of your book of Enough is one of the launches that I talk about the most with the authors who work with me, because it was, first of all, it brought all of the skills that you have and the way that you like to interact with, obviously you had built up an audience for the business. So it was a case of how are we going to bring that book to that audience to absolutely compel them to get on board, but also to bring it to new audiences, to bring it to new readers who didn't know you yet. So we put together the online launch of all online book launches. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, so because my audience has always been global. So I've been very, very fortunate in my business that I've always had a real strong international element. So I knew that I wanted to do something online to gather people, because that that simply was the practical thing to do when you got people all over the place. So we built a launch team, and that was just the best thing ever, because their excitement of being on board, and because I know I'm really good at building like solid community with people, and I can get people on board and all of that. So it's like, okay, play to that strength. Created a group, invited a few people, opened it, like one email I think I did that opened it beyond that, and then the launch team was full. So it was like, okay, let's go. And their excitement for the project, and and when I would share we're refining the cover, we're doing this, and I would share the process of, wow, I never thought I would spend so much time talking about fonts, like the things that non-authors don't think about, right? You just don't think about it until it's you putting it together. So people got a real good, my launch team got a real good behind the scenes, and then when it came to actually launching the book, they were brilliant. They were so on board, in different ways to promote the book, and to go out and buy it from a local bookshop and take photographs in the bookshop, and
Mm.
so that, and post that on social media, so that we were, not just promoting my book, which is great, and that was amazing, but also promoting local businesses in all these different countries, as well, which was, you know, just fits with my ethics as well. So that was a really nice touch.
Yeah. So for people listening, what effectively happened, you had your book launch team, i.e. the people that were already invested enough in this book, were excited enough, waiting to read it and get their hands on the copies, who were essentially helping you to drum up that excitement and that interest. So you're based in Northern Ireland,
Yes.
and we had people all over the world, like across the USA, across the UK, and other parts of the world,
Europe,
who were
Australia, yeah,
Europe,
the whole
Australia.
yard.
So who were going to their local bookshops, and this is the perfect genius of this book launch, which I think is really the bit that will make authors kind of prick up their ears, is that you got your readers who were, yet to read the book, to go to their local bookshops and ask the bookstore owners, do you have a copy of the book? And if they didn't already, then they were ordering it in for that person
Yes,
to buy, weren't they?
yes,
So the book arrives at the bookstore, the reader goes to fetch it, they took a selfie, they took pictures of themselves with the book,
yeah,
they tagged, shouted out to the bookstores themselves, who
yeah.
then in return gave you a shout out in return, didn't they? Posted it on their own socials.
Yeah, well, we made a point of doing, because I said to people, I was like, please tag the bookshop and me. And then so when they would post that, I would go back to the bookshop, repost it and thank the bookshop for taking care of my readers. So the bookshop was getting a second shout out, yeah, fine, I'm getting an extra bit of
Mm.
coverage for my book, but it was also that I want to honor those bookshops who are taking care, and who are bringing in this brand new book that they would know nothing about otherwise. And it was really fun, folks really enjoyed, because I was like, who, will people actually do this, like, really, other than my family, will people actually do this? And they got such delight over, for some of them, going and finding their closest
Mhm.
bookshop, independent bookshop, and really, like, some of them find really beautiful ones, and like, oh, this is brilliant, I never knew this was here, this is gorgeous. And so I got some lovely photographs from those, and they were all over the blessed place. So it was really, it was
Yeah.
great, it was really fun.
And so for a little while you had a kind of movement going on, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and a
really
real
did, and it was lovely.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which, and that, I think the thing as well is, when you're indie publishing, you can feel very alone if you're not careful. And when you're trying to do something just on your own, especially when you're doing it for the first time, I can imagine that that would feel really lonely. Like, I don't know if it feels lonely. I'm speculating, because I didn't do it alone. Because when you've got people that are rooting for you, and they're excited about, it might feel like tiny progress to you, there might be 100 frustrations behind the scene, but when you share something with this group of people that are rooting for you, and they're like, oh my goodness, that's so exciting, or wow, I never thought of that, or oh my goodness, there's so much involved in this that I never thought about, it reminds you what an incredible thing you're doing, and it peps you up, so you sort of are able to feed off their energy, and not just have to rely on, okay, today I need to go out there and be an author, and sound like an author and do all the authory things, so it's brilliant. It's definitely such a great thing to do. If you're the sort of person who enjoys building community like that, then do it.
Yes. Yes. My next question is, what do you think has been the single biggest kind of needle moving thing that you've done since you were launching the Enough book? Is it that first initial launch, or what other things would you say?
I think there's a couple of things. I was a bit cheeky. There is a national radio station, Premier Christian Radio, and they were doing a road show, and it was the week before the book launched. So I had an advanced copy. I think I had three in total, and I had none by the time I left this road show. But I basically shamelessly plugged the book when asking a question in the Q&A at this roadshow. And I lifted the book aloft and told everybody I'm shamelessly plugging this book, which comes out next week. The question was shoehorned to give me an excuse to do that. And off the back of that and the conversations I had around that shameless plug, it led to speaking gigs. It has led to what is now a regular slot on Premiere as a guest, so loads more broadcasting. It led to me getting a keynote for a global online conference and an invitation to come over to London for another, and so on and so forth. Like, that one being a little bit cheeky and being
Mm.
armed with that early copy was probably the single biggest thing. And it was just that moment of going, sure, let's just do it, you know.
I'm so, so proud of you for that. I mean, it really is. Me as a professional and as a publicist and all of this, one of the things that I forget or that I take for granted and that I realize, needs to be said much, much more is you have to make the ask. If you don't ask, if you don't put yourself forward, if you don't give the book a mention in the moment, you're missing out on opportunities. So it's
Yeah.
always about, if not you, then who, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that single thing has just cascaded. It wasn't even the most auspicious event, and that's no disrespect to them. It just, it's the sort of thing that on paper you might have looked at and gone, ugh, is that worth me going? Or there not be a lot of people there? Or, it's
Yeah.
very easy for the little gremlins to go, oh, don't bother. Just, leave it alone. There'll be something bigger and better. And it's like, actually, sometimes those smaller events or those less exciting looking events are the ones where you get to talk to people and you get opportunities that, I mean, I could never have imagined what would have come out of that. I
Yes.
genuinely couldn't have,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's the same for anybody going to any event. It doesn't matter how small it is. Don't despise small beginnings.
So from that, you've now become a regular contributor
Yeah.
to the Premier Radio, which,
Yes.
by the way, it's a national radio station
Mhm.
in the UK,
Yeah,
but it
it's
actually
huge.
goes beyond the UK, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of listeners. So you've had keynote speaking. What are the
Mhm.
other kind of great things that have come out of publishing the book? What else has been going on?
It's so funny because whilst I'm incredibly proud of the book, I love it to pieces. I really, really love it, and I'm so proud of it. But it's not the biggest thing I've ever done. If I look at the things that I've achieved and the crazy things I've done, it's no disrespect to it, but it's not the wildest thing. And yet, as soon as people hear you're an author, they kind of don't hear the rest. It is a big deal, and I think we forget that actually sometimes as authors is because we've done it. It's normal to us, and we run in circles with other authors, and many of whom have published way more books than us. So, it's like, it's no big deal. But actually, to normal people, to non-authors, it's a huge deal. So I think even just the cachet of that anywhere I go and anybody I speak to about, my work or any of that, it just has a whole other layer.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had appreciated before becoming an author quite how useful it is actually. So
Mm.
yes, that's been an interesting one.
Yeah. Not forgetting that you've now won an award for this book.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. So I so I won a nonfiction Chrysalis Award before, and then found out I was a finalist for their book of the year in the spiritual growth genre. And I just found out yesterday that I won. So I'm their
Yeah.
2024 book of the year in the spiritual growth genre, which yeah,
Amazing.
I'm still floating off that because, there's a bunch of authors who've had Chrysalis Awards before. Like, well, Bear Grylls is one of the ones I noticed recently. Christine Kane, Joyce Meyer, Louis Giglio. Like, there's a bunch of people whose books I have and whose voices I really respect. And yeah, so it's like, oh yay, I'm following in their footsteps. Like, this is legit.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. Really fantastic. Um,
thank you.
so if that's not enough to inspire some of our authors listening, what would you say to authors who are feeling super overwhelmed and are thinking, oh, it's all right for her. knew how to work with audiences online, etc., or just feeling, really frightened about putting themselves out there, or feel like that's not something they could do in terms of
Yeah.
marketing a book?
Yeah. Okay. Well, firstly, don't do it alone. And having good people in your corner is priceless. So, of course, I'm going to say that they should be working with you because they're going to run into, they've got your professional expertise, and then having other authors alongside who have walked the road ahead of you and can give you all, the support and the cheerleading and the, oh yeah, I've been there, here's how I resolved it, or oh yeah, yeah, recognize that, don't worry, it gets better. Like, it's just so much easier if you have a good career around you. And so that would be the first thing I would say. So, work with Isabelle. I promise you it will help exponentially. And the other thing that I would say is find a way to do it yourself. That it, not yourself, that is you, I should say. Like make it an embodiment of you. So like with the launch party that we did in London, I I hate launching, like generally, which is why I've done what I've done, because normal launches just drive me crazy. So I had to find a way that I would want to do it. So between the launch team and then the launch party that we had in London, I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to stand around drinking tepid wine in some place that has charged me a fortune for the privilege of being there. Like, that's not okay. I'm not doing it. And so I remember coming into Grape and going, guys, have I lost the plot, or is this a genius idea? and because it was like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Because we talked about it lots, and I'd said to him, like, I'm not paying for a room, like that's not a thing, I'm not doing it. And you're like, all right, well, that's pretty normal. Like, no, I promise you, we're not paying for it. And then I started getting creative and going, okay, well, if I was going to do something that felt like me, what would that be? And I love running retreats, I love like creating experiences for people. So it's like, okay, right, if we were to make enough an immersive experience that my guests were like like being introduced to themes of the book in multi-sensory ways, what would that look like? What would we have? How would that work? And bearing in mind that I'm in Northern Ireland and my sister, who works with me in my business, lives in Scotland. We're doing all of this via Google Maps, by the way, trying to like create a route around London
Mhm.
and create this immersive experience. And that's what we did. And it was so me. It was so congruent with the themes of the book. It was a natural extension of the book because, again, we'd built the ecosystem. So then it makes sense why I'd have little gifts for people at different points that, referred to a particular theme in the book,
Mhm.
or we'd go and visit a particular place for ice cream and or dessert generally. And it was really fun. So I think for anybody that's trying to get themselves together, like get good people around you. You want people who've walked the road, and work out what would make it fun for you. Because if you're finding a fresh way to do this and you enjoy it, you're going to put more energy into it. It's not going to feel like a bummer of a task. It's going to feel like a delight, and that's going to give you energy and excitement, and your readers, your fans, your supporters, whatever you want to call them, they will feel that coming off you, so
Mm.
have at it.
Yeah, yeah. You devised a very, very fun launch evening, didn't you? With all kinds of surprises and treats in and around Soho. Definitely doing things your own way, by your own rules. I think that it
Yes,
was a great example of
very
that,
much.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Kathrine, thank you so much for talking to us about all about the launch and all the inspirational stuff you've done. Where can people find enough or more about you?
So enough, you can find out through your favorite local bookshop if it's not already there, through all the usual online bookshops as well. It's available on there. And you can also find out more about it on my website, which is drkathrine.com. And Catherine does not have an E in the middle. It is just Kathrine. So if you go to drkathrine.com, you will find all about enough, amongst other things.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kathrine. Always a joy to speak to you, and hopefully, this has been inspiring for other people.
Thank you.